While it may be cold outside, things are getting toasty warm at Global Voice Broadcasting. Heat up your winter nights with the hottest topics, the hottest celebrities, and today's best music. It's why Global Voice Broadcasting is becoming your 24/7 home for the music and talk you want right now. Discover your favorite shows and music anytime at globalvoicebroadcasting.com. Welcome to the world of Cabarabia, the world where Broadway, jazz, comedy, and pop share the spotlight, and a 2-drink minimum. With your host, producer, director, Clifford Bell, keeping the world safe for live performances in intimate settings on Global Voice Broadcasting.
And welcome back. Welcome back to my little podcast that could. Cabarabia here on the Global Voice Broadcasting. And I'm so excited for the show today. I'm so happy to share with you my in-studio guest. And I have to admit, I'm a little bit starstruck, so I'm going to try to behave myself.
Stop.
I'd like to introduce you to my guest for the day, Cheryl Bentyne.
Hello.
The great Cheryl Bentyne.
Hi, Clifford.
Gabe, will you show? I just have a couple little pictures I wanted to show by beautiful Cheryl. Now, to Cheryl, some of you might know, Cheryl has been a member of the Great Manhattan Transfer for many, many, many years, and she is also a very celebrated solo artist. I'm going to take just a second and run some quick CD covers of Cheryl as a soloist. Gabe, just run them so people can see. And you made a few albums, lady. You made a few albums. Yeah, the Gershwin one, something
That
cool.
goes way back.
Cole Porter. All right, now I'm going to talk to Cheryl.
Okay.
Hey, Cheryl, welcome.
Hey, thank you.
It's such a pleasure to have you here.
It's great.
You know, I have been a fan since Manhattan Transfer. I got to tell you, followed you all the time. And then as I discovered you as a solo performer, you have even blown me away even more because you are
so sweet.
You are so funny. You are so fun. Not only are you this extraordinary singer, you're a real entertainer. You hit that stage, baby.
I tell you though, it's like it's strangely spontaneous. I don't except for the writing you've done for Mark and myself. Everything is kind of spontaneous. Sometimes it works, other times I just have a good band that laughs a lot behind me too, so it's good.
Yeah, well, I there's so much I want to say. There's so much I want to say. You know, I saw you at Vitello's about 6 months ago, was it, as far as...
That sounds about right.
You did a rare recently, a full evening there at Vitello's by yourself with the band. And, you know, the funniest stuff, it was funny Bette Midler, hilarious, and the serious stuff,
wow.
It was heartbreaking and dramatic. And, you know, I mean, I think a lot of times if people that know you know what an amazing jazz vocalist you are. And, you know, and I don't think people project the acting chops that go into, you know, what you bring to it as well.
Well, that was originally, now that you say that, that's what I was always wanting and hoping to become, as just an actress.
Really?
Just an actress.
That's interesting to know.
Yeah. And then I started singing with my father. I did musicals in high school.
Really?
And then my mother came to a show once at high school, and she said, "You should go sing with your dad's band." He had a Dixieland jazz.
Dixieland band.
Yeah,
I saw that. Yeah.
So I thought, well, can't everybody do this? You know, when something happens and you can do it kind of naturally, it was like falling off a log. But I still wanted to act, so I'm still incorporating all of that as part of the show.
Yeah, well,
so
tell me now, where are you from?
Mount Vernon, Washington.
Wow.
It's about 60 miles north of Seattle.
Right. I
Yeah.
grew up in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't know.
Well,
Pacific Northwest,
we're
baby.
Pacific Northwest babes. Yeah.
And And so I'd heard about your father was a musician at Dixieland Jazz. That's so great.
I know, clarinet player, and he played all the reeds and flute, and dance band.
Right.
You know, they called him the Benny Goodman of the Northwest.
And so they knew early on what an amazing singer you were. I would
Well, my mother really pushed me on stage for, to sing with him, not knowing where it would lead, just knowing I made $25 a week.
Right.
So I couldn't turn it down.
You're in the business.
I'm in the business. So I didn't know where it would go. I really didn't at that point.
So, and then you left Washington to come to L.A.?
I left Washington. No, at first I just drove down to Seattle. That was the big city.
Right.
And sang with a band. I auditioned for a band called the New Deal Rhythm Band. It was seven guys and me, and it was like zoot suits and
fun.
crazy Cab Calloway stuff.
So you were doing the vintage thing.
Oh yeah,
early
I did
on.
Carmen Miranda. I wore a huge head of fruit on my head
Right.
and ate a real banana every night in Tico Tico. I had my potassium covered at that point.
Oh, the things we do for art.
I know. So those were my college years. I did New Deal for about 4 years, and we just traveled the West Coast, basically.
Wow.
And that was my Seattle stop. So, and then a manager saw me with the New Deal Rhythm Band and said, I'd like you to come to L.A. And I said, sure, let's go.
Right.
So, and she kind of groomed me with voice lessons and dance lessons.
What?
And
Was that a person that was from Washington as well?
no,
Or was
she was
an
from
LA person?
she was from San Francisco,
Uh-huh.
Linda Friedman, and had a promotion agency called Friedman and Johnston. And they had booked actually the Manhattan Transfer on
interesting.
some concerts. So we started working together and trying to get whatever I was going to be.
So you were kind
formed.
of discovered.
Kind of, yeah.
When somebody from the real biz says,
From the
I
real
like you and I believe in you, that's
Yeah.
a big step, right?
Yeah.
And she encouraged you to come to L.A.?
Yep, I drove down in my little Toyota Corolla and just stayed with her for a while and did dance lessons at Roland Dupree.
Right?
Dupree, yes. I
Right.
went there.
Third and Crescent Heights.
That's right. That's
now,
right.
now it's a children's theater, but it's exactly the same building.
Yeah.
All the rooms are the same.
Yeah, it was. So
Yeah.
it was great. It was a great beginning.
Yeah. And so that begs the question. So how did the transfer come about?
Well, it was through my manager. They had a real quiet kind of a hush-hush audition. Laurel Massey, who was with the group and started
Right.
the group.
She did the first well, actually, there were 2 albums, right?
No, there were more. I'm going to say
really?
4. There was
really?
the first one, Coming Out Pastiche, and a live album from London.
Wow. I thought
So
that
they did 4 before I
Oh,
came
wow.
in. And then she left and had a terrible car accident and had the time to really, rethink her life. Decided she wanted to do something else. And then the group, this is only, what they've told me. Obviously, I wasn't on that
Right.
side of the
Right.
room at the time. And they quietly held auditions. They asked people, behind the scenes people, do you know somebody that... There are a couple names that you would know, which I won't
Right.
tell.
Right.
And then I was the seventh auditionee that came into Janice's house. She lived on Camrose, right by the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, wow. Fun.
And I drove up. I was on the other side of the hill. I lived in a little studio apartment behind the Baked Potato. So I was actually very close in
Right.
vicinity to her. And I walked in and I was thrilled because I was a fan. I was a
Right.
big fan of the group. And sat down and sang Candy
Mm.
and You Can Depend on Me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember if I sang a third song or not. And then they started playing songs like Birdland, and they were trying to figure out what they were going to do next. I said,
Right.
what a great idea to sing that song. Because
Right.
it was popular, obviously the Weather Report version
Right.
was popular. So I...
To me, looking at the evolution of things, I always think of your joining the transfer as one of those one of those things that really worked. You know, sometimes when somebody steps into a new group, it doesn't, you know, it changes it, it dissipates it in some way.
Yeah.
But you were instantly part of the magic and continue to be to this day, right?
Well, I agree, because I think, I think it was, you know, it was divine intervention where
Right.
I grew up knowing that music. I loved them.
Right.
I never thought of singing with a group, but when I met them and they were looking for a sound.
Right.
When we opened our mouths and sang Candy, they said they all looked at each other and went,
this might be the one.
yeah. They said they knew.
Gabe, let's show a couple pictures here, please. There y'all are, looking cute. Next one, please. There you are.
In the same goofy colors, aren't we? Oh, there's
you are.
something live. That's more recent, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I used to run the Feinsteins at the Cinegrill at the Hollywood Roosevelt when it was here briefly for like a year, and I produced Janice one night. I don't even know that she would remember me, but well, it wasn't one night. She had like a 4 or 5 night run, but I was the producer of it.
Wow.
She's a lovely woman.
Yeah,
and
she's
I've met Alan a
fantastic.
few times. He's lovely. I never knew Tim, who we recently lost.
Yeah.
Sorry for that. That's
Thank you.
hard, I know.
It was rough. It's still surreal, you know, because he was a part of, you know, I've known him half of my life. I
Right.
sung with him for half of my life. You know?
Right.
And he was really a
And he was quite
mentor.
brilliant, I understand.
To
a
the point
lot
of,
a lot of the concepts of the group
everything.
came from him. Yeah,
Everything
right.
came from him. He started the whole idea,
Yeah,
you know, and still to our final recording actually kept bringing more ideas in. You know, he just had a way of, he knew music. I mean, he had it all cataloged in that brain. It was amazing how much information he shared.
yeah.
You know.
And I understand you still have a lot of tour dates. We're Facebook friends, so I pay attention to your doings. I know when you're in the airport in Arizona.
You know, when I leave my charger at the hotel
do.
in Georgia.
And so you're continuing to perform.
Oh, yeah,
There's a
yeah.
gentleman taking Tim's place.
Trist Curlis,
Yes.
who has played Vitello's many times. He's in a group called Impact, and a 6-men a cappella group that they're killing. They're amazing.
Ah, great.
So actually, the first time Tim got ill, I called Claude McKnight from Take 6, and I said, we need a bass. Do you know of anybody you can recommend? He had a couple names, and he mentioned Trist, and I remembered Trist did my sound once at Vitello's. So I said, I'll call him. So it happened like in a matter of moments, and he said, I'd love to.
Oh,
So
nice.
he kind of helped us out early on when Tim went in for some surgery and then was recovering, and then, you know, finally, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's impossible shoes to fill.
Right.
And Trist knows that. But Trist also brings something different to us.
Right.
He makes us rise to a different level, doing the beatbox thing, doing, you know, real bass sounds, and because that's his gig in Impact.
And your audience wants to hear the group. You know, they want it to continue to live. They want it.
They've been
they wanna
very,
have the
very,
experience.
very understanding and very supportive. And Trist really does blend beautifully with us. You know, it's got to blend.
Yeah.
You got to, and that's something I think you either have or you don't have.
Right.
You know, and we were hoping, we kind of held our breath, and it's going to be fine.
So I want to share a clip. I have a clip of you all from the Vocalists tour in 1986.
Oh my goodness.
And
It's a few years
fun,
back.
It's a fun clip. I thought I'd share it. All right, here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sun Plaza. This is the final show of Vocalists in Japan for 1986. Please welcome the Manhattan Transfer.
push him over, ruler, be ready to show you some blowing. A romping and stomping is a lot of fun for brothers who are blowing our horns. So settle listen, cause you don't know what you're missing, and we're ready to give you a showing. I'm moving and grooving, it's just begun for brothers who are blowing our horns. We got a little message that you're gonna enjoy, it's not the facts. So certainly to reach and share it, if you ever had a gift, forget it, it's time to relax. You might as well admit it with the best that ever did it, but in case you ain't too sure I know it, we're gonna let you listen to us one by one. We're brothers who are blowing our horns.
You do, talking about you. It's very nice to know you and really take a time to see me blow. Cause it's just I'm born, I'm blowing my horns. But baby, I'm blowing some it up. And I hope you think the sound will make it on any other. Now I must go for a time for you to listen to my other brother.
I think she's talking about me. I better go and see. I'm ripping that she knows I wanted very much to reach you. That's the reason I'm blowing so snappily. I don't know what you got, but it fills me and I hope to have a lot, cause it puts me closer, baby. So if you like to take my other brother, you're gonna have to turn the record over. Hey, you talking about, say you talking about. Did you hear say that you wish your other brother? Cause you kids are hating, talking about three. That's me, listen to you. How did you, how are you, nothing's new. How was everything well? What do you say, I leave this jazz up to my sister.
Dig, 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 my Long Island sound. Hold the putting it down. You got me in the mood so romantic. If you notice, you can take the song on that because in fact, I told you back when I dig you. Pretty baby, you will never know how much I feel to dig you. You got me so excited that I do blowing my horn.
Getting around with me to put it down. Glad the fact you know that you enjoyed it. We wish we had the time to give you more. Thank you for the compliment. You know the street, but better just as though it didn't know it. We're the best of all the rest is the minor school. Stay cool, never better fool. The heart is in the streets, like a seal of the show. But we don't confidence of all we go.
Hi-ho, Mac-a-day, boy, it's a natural fact. I ain't no kin, but I would like to get in the act.
Well, get out of here, get out of here, get out of here.
We appreciate it, making you laugh. We must ask you to apologize for that you're on it in our band.
For brothers, for brothers, for brothers. Although we sound like one for brothers, for brothers, for brothers. We're really only for. We like to go, but we don't know how time can fly and how it all can pass away. We wish the time would never go, so we can take our time to go to judgment day. For brothers, for brothers, for brothers. Not just one final word.
I'm to know you, hope I don't forget you.
It's really a pleasure. Hope I don't silly you. Hoping the story did not upset you.
Who should be your hoping that you were bored? So just before we go, we do want to take up a break and let us show you how it goes. Get up that jazz. We don't have to break it, but we're blown our own.
Whoa. Now, what is better than that? I'm telling you. Oh my God, that's so great.
Look what I get to do for a living.
I know.
Right?
That must be so fun.
Well, it is. I
and
hate
you
to tell
guys
you.
tour a lot still. You
Oh
work
yeah,
all the
yeah.
time.
I think that was Japan, and we go to Japan about once a year,
Yeah.
once every year and a half. Go to Europe,
Yeah.
do all the jazz festivals there, and play everywhere else too.
Yeah. I was just telling you before we started, I think the first time I saw you live in an intimate setting was about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. We can't place exactly when it was, 5 or 6 years ago maybe.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Lawrence Williams took me to a gig you were doing in a club. And I just sat just open-jawed at what an amazing singer you are. You have the most beautiful voice, just endless facility, just nothing like it.
Well, thank you very
it's
much.
so extraordinary to watch you. And as I had Gabe show your records, you've done quite a few records. Your first one was Something Cool.
Yes, that
Right.
was many, many years ago on Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
And then I didn't do anything for a long time, because we were so busy.
Right.
And plus, it was, I just needed to like dig into the transfer and
Right.
just become whoever it was I was supposed to become in the group, you
Right.
know. And then all of a sudden, and I hadn't thought of this for a long time, but all of a sudden one day, I was married to Corey Allen, who's a piano player
Yeah, I
and
was
arranger.
gonna say,
Yeah, very,
yeah.
very talented. And I saw that Jane Monheit, who I love,
Uh-huh.
had a record coming out. And I said, you know what? I need to do this. Wait a minute. She's like 30 years younger than me. I need to start making
It took
records.
Jane's made a record. I can make a record.
I know, really. So I owe it to her because I adore her. She's fantastic.
Yeah, beautiful singer.
Yeah, very, very good. And I thought, well, let's try. So my husband got a hold of Brian Bromberg, bass player, and said, do you have any ideas label-wise, where we could go, what we could do? He was on a Japanese label called King Records
Uh-huh.
and called them up, and they said, sure, we'd love her. It was that simple. You know, and back then it was simpler. It was a simpler time.
Right.
And I got 2 Swing Journal Awards from a couple of the records. I was doing a record almost every year for them.
Right.
And then here's the nice part. They revert over to me. So then I own them after a certain
that's
number of
nice.
months, like 18 months
Oh,
or 24
that's
months.
nice.
So I have all of these discs that I'm trying to figure out what to do with now. Because
Right.
some of them still haven't been released here. You know, there's a couple that you don't have that
Right.
hadn't been released here. So
And I'm not a creature of the reading the bio on the paper. I like to just be in relationship
Yeah,
with you.
me too.
But I know you've won Grammys, both with the transfer and on your own.
Well,
So-
no, they were all transfer
They were all
related.
transfer
in the
related.
transfer pool. Yeah.
In the transfer pool. Well,
Yeah.
tell me that about. a little bit.
Our first one was Birdland, and that
Uh-huh.
was, my first record with the group. In fact, my first recording with the group was Birdland.
Uh-huh.
So that was pretty exciting. And the one I won, I shared with, and I'm proud to say, it was his first Grammy, was Bobby McFerrin.
Oh, wow.
We did a vocal kind of a cappella vocalese interpretation of Night in Tunisia
Uh-huh.
on vocalese.
Right.
And that was an experience because we had heard about Bobby. He was still pretty underground, but he took us in the studio without any music, which, it's like, what? Where are the notes? What are we supposed to do? And
Really, I'm waiting for my charge.
I know. So we sang without a net with him. That's what
Right.
his motto was. No net underneath us.
Oh, wow.
So he would start us and point to one of us, and then we'd start a riff and then point to somebody else, which is really still his
Yeah.
kind of technique.
Yeah.
Keeps it raw and keeps it real. So that was a great experience.
Yes.
Yay.
And now, did Sassy win a Grammy? Is that right? And
That was our last Grammy that we won.
yeah.
And-
And you have co-writer credit on that.
I do.
That's very
I
fancy.
know. I only wrote a couple words, but Janice gave me
The
a
very-
nice little credit. That was on
That's the classy way to
Offbeat.
go, Janice.
Yeah. Thanks, Janice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then these days, I guess I have come to know you better because of your association with Mark Winkler.
Yes.
Mark Winkler is a friend of mine that's been on
Yeah.
this program. He's a producer, a songwriter, a jazz singer himself. And you all crossed paths a few years back. Why don't you tell me a little bit about
Yeah,
it?
a friend of mine, my engineer, Tom McCauley, introduced us basically and said, I know Mark, and you're looking for material. He's a great writer. He writes really interesting, story songs or, so many varieties of songs. So we had lunch and got along great,
Right.
famously.
He's a character.
He's a character. I love him dearly. And so we talked about music, and there were quite a few songs of his I loved. I don't think I wasn't in the studio at that time, but I was trying to gather material. And he was just going in the studio, so he invited me to join him on
Have
a
you
cut.
sung In a Lonely Place?
No,
That's
I
my
leave that
favorite
to him.
song.
It's so
That's such a beautiful song.
well, we do a show called West Coast Cool.
I know.
And it's a great record. It was on the jazz charts for quite a while. too.
Actually, Gabe, I have a couple pictures. So this is Mark Winkler and Cheryl, one of the
Ooh.
early promo
Holly
pictures. I
Golightly.
love that picture. And then this is the West Coast Cool. Before I actually met Cheryl, to know her, to talk to her, Mark asked me to help write the structure of the show and the
Yeah,
narrative,
yeah.
and we had a great time doing that. And then he said, well, you've got to come over. Cheryl's coming over today, and you can meet her. And then she wasn't there, and I thought, he's hiding her from me. He's trying to keep me from meeting her.
I'm sorry, I wasn't there. I don't know what happened.
No, you had something come up. But yeah, and it is a fantastic show that you guys have had a lot of success with now, doing a lot of tour dates with that.
Yeah, it's
and
been
it has a
lot
wonderful
of fun.
chemistry, you know. And it's the music of the 60s songs that came out of California as opposed
Yeah, the 50s and 60s. Chris Connor, Chet Baker, Bobby Troop, Julie London,
Yeah.
June Christie. Yeah.
But
all
it
of
is
these.
it's an interesting collection of songs
Yeah.
with an interesting premise.
Yeah.
Because it's how the West Coast lifestyle influenced that sound, which I think
Exactly.
is a very interesting
Exactly.
thing.
And people love those songs.
Yeah.
I mean, Talk of the Town, Girl Talk,
Right.
Something Cool,
Right.
Lemon Twist, all the Bobby Troop songs. And you just hear sometimes the room just goes, ah, you can hear an ah, because
Yeah.
it's songs that nobody really does anymore.
And
know?
it's funny. Once again, I'm gonna be flattering to you in a way that I'm gonna pretend like I'm not. But I don't want you to think I'm a flatterer because I'm really not. I'm just reporting accurately the facts. But you do the June Christie, the Something Cool and Talk of the Town and that easy, that quiet, sexy, sultry kind of stuff. And then on the up funny stuff, you are a tiger on that stage. You are so funny, and you're you're a fantastic performer. You're such an entertainer. You don't usually get that element from somebody who is such a skilled technician.
Well, I've
you
got
know?
a frustrated Lucille Ball that
You
lives
do,
inside.
and
I
she's
know.
fantastic.
I still want to do like a one-woman show. Maybe we should talk.
We might
after
should
this.
talk because your Vitello show knocked me out. I thought that because it really is in a vein of the Great Bet. Not many people have that gene, and you really do have that gene. You
Well,
tear it up
I-
when you hit that stage.
I thank you from the bottom of
You
my
tear
heart.
it up.
Thank you.
So let me take 2 seconds. I do a little thing where I promote some things that I've got coming up. So let me do my little commercial section.
Okay.
I call this the 1001 Cabarabian Nights. And I only have a couple things to talk about today because my next big gig is going to be on March 1st. If anybody's watched this show, you know that I've been involved for about a year putting together a new charity organization called Jazz del Corazon. And actually, that was the first opportunity that I actually had to produce an evening that Cheryl was a part of, and it was such a meaningful, wonderful show for Dolores Scorsese's daughter. But Jazz del Corazon is a brainchild of my friend Jackie Gibson, and she. We wanted to make this organization that helps local jazz musicians in times of extreme need. And we've done we've raised money for a gentleman who had a heart transplant, and we raised money to do memorial services for a gentleman who passed, and we raised money for our beloved pal Dolores Scorsese's daughter who has a spinal injury, a brain stem injury. And on and on. We've helped a few people. So our next one is going to be March 1st, Sunday, March 1st, if you're watching this in real time, at the newly re-envisioned, formerly Vitello, upstairs at Vitello's, is now a whole new club called the E-Spot Lounge. And it's been influenced by the famous jazz percussionist, Sheila E. Fabulous Sheila E. Kind of has taken the whole thing over. They've rebuilt it. They've remodeled it. The whole thing, the ante's up. And kind of changed the way the whole thing is run, but I've still got my few well-placed nights here and there, and my first night being there is going to be Sunday, March 1st, and we're honoring women who have been influential in the Los Angeles jazz scene. Edith Bronston, who runs the LA Jazz Society, Barbara Brighton, who is, I believe, isn't she producing your
Yes,
next
she
album? You and
is.
Mark are in the
Yes.
studio working on a new album.
That's right.
Should we say the name? Is it too early?
No, it's not too
Say
early.
the name.
Are you ready? Jazz is a 4-letter word.
That's right. They're currently working on that, getting ready to go to the studio. So that's Barbara Brighton, Merle Krubik, who is a booker that keeps a very steady, prestigious line of jazz being performed. Catalina Popescu, who runs Catalina Jazz Club, the preeminent jazz club in the city, and Kathy Siegel Garcia, who is our mutual friend, a fabulous, fabulous woman who's a wonderful singer and ambassador internationally for the art of song, and she's an educator. She runs workshops, which evidently Cheryl makes an appearance at, teaching occasionally. Now, what would be more amazing than being in a workshop with Cheryl Bentyne? I actually have heard singers like lives were changed by
Oh,
you.
stop.
I
I
have.
just-
People say you're an amazing teacher.
Well, I have fun. They inspire me. And I always, when you're in a teaching position, you always learn something.
Yeah.
It's like, I said that?
Yeah,
I gotta remember that.
I have
Write
to
that
give
down.
you the biggest compliment because because obviously you are a master teacher. You come to it from your level of achievement, and you're there helping people. And one of the things that the few people I know that have taken the classes with you have all said that you really are extraordinarily intuitive about them as individuals. That you go right into what each person individually, separate from the others, needs.
Oh, you have
and
to.
that's the gift.
You
know?
have to. That's because you got to bring, I call it the authentic voice.
Yeah.
I'll if someone is singing strangely or in an out of their range, I'll just go, talk to me. What's your
Right.
speaking voice? I go, that's your singing voice. It's right
Right.
there. It's right there in the middle of the of the tones. You incorporate the head tones and the chest tones and the heart. It's much more than that, but
Yeah.
it's so individual. It's so individual.
So Cheryl is making a rare appearance in these Kathy's next series of workshops. She's doing like a 5-day seminar kind of a
Kathy,
deal.
man, she cracks the whip. That girl.
If you're watching this in real time, that's in Los Angeles, February. I think it's like 24, 25, something like that.
It's the whole week of that week. It
Yeah.
ends on the weekend of
the last weekend of February.
Yeah, but she's got 5
And
solid
there's
days.
there's
I'm
like
on a Saturday, I'm
40,
doing something.
40 different things being offered.
It's amazing.
And
she
Cheryl is one of the
offers.
guest teachers. So look up KathySiegelGarcia.com and all the information will
Mm-hmm.
be there. Gabe, can I see that graphic one more time? Because I just want to list the people who will be performing. We have Kat Connor, who's great, Kathy
Mm-hmm.
Siegel Garcia, Jackie Gibson, Martha Taylor LaCroix, Ann Mack, Dolores Scorsese, Stephanie Spruill, Lauren White, Audibird Wolf, and a special appearance by Corky Hale. Do you know Corky? She's awesome. She
I'm
was
sorry,
my
I'm
guest a
gonna
few
miss
months
that.
back. She amongst 1,000 other distinctions, she's married to Mike Stoller of Lieber and Stoller.
Oh,
So
course.
she has that legend of that whole thing behind her. But was Billie Holiday's pianist as a young woman, like as a 20-year-old. She was traveling with and playing for Billie Holiday.
Oh my goodness.
And she's a famous harpist. She's played with Barbra Streisand and Sinatra and Tony Bennett, and she's
my
this
gosh.
fascinating woman.
Fabulous.
And she's going to do a thing for us.
Wow.
So let's see. And then one other thing, I'm putting the finishing touches on an album. With my friend Lauren White and the Quinn Johnson Trio. And the Quinn Johnson, as I've mentioned here before, Quinn is the musical director for Steve Terrell, and he's a very accomplished jazz musician. He also plays the Claire Fisher track in the Claire Fisher Band, and they've won a Grammy for Best Latin Jazz.
Nice.
And the Quinn Johnson Trio is Ray Brinker on drums and Trey Henry on bass, which is basically Tierney
Tierney's
Sutton's band.
Yeah.
And we're making an album of the music of Irene Krall, which is gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. So I have a little 1-minute film that my friend Andrew Apple made from a recording session that I'm going to use to say, go buy this record. Okay. going to say that on the air. Can we say it?
Sure.
Cheryl just leaned in and said, I know Irene Krall's daughter, and please tell us about that.
Jody, yeah, she came over to my house. I didn't know. I saw her on Facebook, and I
Right.
knew, and I didn't know who her mother was. She comes to the house and is teaching me cello. I'm trying to learn the cello. She goes, "Oh, my mother, Irene Krall." I went, "What? What? Oh my God!"
That's crazy. You know, my mother played the cello.
Really?
Isn't that funny?
It's my favorite instrument.
And mine too. I love that instrument.
Next to the voice, of course.
But that and we very, very excitedly were like very humbled that Jody came to the show, the last live performance we did of the show, and liked it and agreed to perform on the album. So we have our
Fabulous.
final recording session this week with Jody.
Oh, fantastic! I can't wait to hear
So
this.
very excited.
Yay.
Yeah. So anyway, and I have one more thing to promote. Every year for the last 16 years, I've been having a birthday party for Barbra Streisand. She hasn't come yet, but I have it every year because, you know, the other 364 days a year, you're not allowed to sing Barbra Streisand songs. But
Okay.
on one day a year, you can sing Barbra Streisand songs. So everybody I know who's a great singer comes and sings their Barbra song. And we always do it for charity. And this year we're going to do it at Rockwell on April 26th, which is 2 days after Barbara's birthday. But it's always a really fabulous night. It's always super fun, and it's
I
for
wanna
charity.
come.
Please come.
Well, she's the reason I sing. I used to sing all of her records in my patio of my
Yeah.
house and just lip sync everything and then would sing along with it. When I saw Funny Girl, that's when I wanted to be an actress.
Well, if
so it's all,
you're-
my life is all based
If
around
you're
her.
in town, nothing would make me happy.
Oh, I'd love
It's
to.
a super fun night. It's a super fun night. So, Cheryl, so the one more subject, which is not nearly as fun as everything else we've talked about. I have you here. It's
Mm-hmm.
lovely to talk to you, and I know that the last few years you've been struggling with and conquering cancer.
The big C.
The
I
big
know.
C.
I know. I rarely even use that word.
Yeah.
It's not that I was afraid of it, but you know, I'm like the healthiest person I know.
Right.
I'd never catch a cold, never got the flu, never had any of those things that you get. You know,
Right.
I just trudged through every illness.
Right.
And one day, now it's almost 4 years ago, I think it was 2010. 10? That sounds right.
Yeah.
We were on a European tour, and I started just getting sick. I
Right.
just didn't feel good. And we finished the tour somehow. I mean, I was walking slower and slower in these long corridors at the airports in Europe. And finally, I knew something was really wrong. I'd lost 30 pounds
Wow.
on the road, and I just couldn't eat. So Alan Paul, my partner in the transfer, who's like my dear brother, he said, "You got to go to the doctor. Something's wrong."
Right.
You know, and I said, "Yeah, I probably have the flu." You know, message to all of you out there: don't assume it's the flu.
Right.
I had blood tests, and within like 3 or 4 hours after I got home, my doctor said, "Come to the emergency room. Something's wrong." So I went in, and then the last words you ever expect to hear. You know, I wasn't even, I thought it was the flu or maybe
Right.
some internal illness,
Right.
virus of some sort.
Right.
I had Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Ugh.
And I heard those words and I went, "What? No. So I proceeded to do 12 chemo treatments and missed 8 months of work, which has never happened in the transfer. You know,
Right.
we've never had replacements,
Right.
in 30, 40, 42 years now.
That's interesting. Nobody
know.
ever missed a show.
No, maybe once, I think, from a death in the family, there may have been one. But otherwise, we're kind of like personalities. It's not just
Right.
like a chorus of people,
Right. Right.
So we got a replacement, and I sat on the couch for 8 months and did chemo every other week, and beat it, and it was gone. And went out for another year, back on the road. I was so excited, and then 2 years, almost to the day, to the same Thanksgiving week, I was feeling weird again. And we were on the road. We were in Seattle, and I had what I thought was swollen glands or something. And they called my doctor down here and said, "No, I think it's her lymphoma is back." And I went, "What?
Ooh.
What? No!" So it came back with a vengeance. This time it was non-Hodgkin's, which, you know, if you look it up, is worse than Hodgkin's, for whatever
Right.
reason that is. I don't know. More
It's-
aggressive.
Right.
You know, so at that point, my doctor connected with Dr. Nadamani at City of Hope in Duarte and said, you got to go there. You got to get rid of this. I think you need a stem cell transplant. I said, sure. I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you know exactly what a stem cell transfer
Not a clue,
was?
but he said, you don't want to get this again. I said, no,
Right.
I really don't. You know, because I'm pretty vital and I have a pretty strong
Yeah,
body.
your pioneer stock, baby.
You know?
Yeah.
So I went and had new cells put in. I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. I was in isolation for 1 week. I couldn't even leave my room because your white cell count goes down to 0, which means you have no immune system.
Wow.
I mean, even getting up and walking across the room was hard for me, you know, and that's
Right.
like, it's like, come on. So, but I got out pretty quickly. I think like a week before they thought I would get out. And they said, you're ready to go home. So it was quite an experience. Things you never think you can live through. You do.
Yeah,
You know.
well, that's the big message, isn't
do.
it? And
Yeah.
and
This is my second growth, by the way.
I know it
I
looks
lost
fabulous.
it twice. I know. But the good news is it came back curly. I had completely straight hair. I swear. So I got something good out of the deal.
The last time I saw you do a full length concert by yourself, you came out and you said, "I have all new cells."
It's true. And they give you a new birthday. February 5th, I'll be 1 year old. So you get the inoculations like a 1 year old. I have to get all of those because everything is new inside. And I feel, you know, and I've been in a place called We Spark, which is an organization run by Nancy Allen in Studio City.
The actress Nancy Allen?
Yes. She started this organization. It's nonprofit and it's fabulous. And I go into meetings once in a while, and they basically said the words that really changed my life. They said, "You're not the same as you were. You're different. You're different now." And I came out of it thinking, okay, I'll just go back to work. Everything will be great. Da 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 da. And then I hit a wall. So it was almost like a post.
So what is We Spark? We Spark is for survivors of cancer?
Yeah, and people going through chemo and just a support system. They have yoga, they have, you know, they have massage there. They have a lot of
interesting.
group
I've
therapy.
heard the name,
things.
but I didn't know what it
Yeah,
was.
it's a great organization. And I spent a little time there with these ladies, realizing I have it better than a lot of them. You know,
Yeah.
I'm very lucky.
Well, you
know.
certainly seem resilient. I mean, you certainly
Well, I have some
seem-
rough days, you know, and it's like, what is it called? Post, you know, traumatic stress disorder.
Right.
They have, you know, that comes with cancer too, and I
would
didn't know that.
guess.
You know, so that's an ongoing thing, which I want to start like an organization that says, you know, you got to talk about it now, after it's all done and you're all
So
well.
what would you say is the source of your strength to walk through it?
Well, number one, and it's very emotional, is my daughter.
Uh-huh.
You know, it's so easy it would be easy to not get up in the morning. You know, it would be very easy. And I still have days like that once in a while
Uh-huh.
where I just don't want to do it. I just don't want to live that day. I don't
Right.
mean I just don't want to live into
You
that
don't want
day.
to do what you have to do.
Exactly. I just
Yeah.
want to put the covers over my head and you know, and stay there.
Yeah. But you walk through it.
But you walk through it. I think I'm a real good patient because I did everything I was told. And everyone I know said, "Oh, I couldn't do that." And I said, "Yes, you could, because you have to."
Right.
You know, what option do you have?
Right.
You know, this is the hand I was dealt. So I'm still, I think for the rest of my life, I'll be dealing with some sort of, you know, aid, some sort of show, maybe I'll write regarding that, you know, something. It's time to give back. You know, it's time for me
Well,
to
it's
give it
certainly
back.
an inspiring message to see how you're thriving.
Well,
It really is.
Thank you. I mean, some of my close friends would disagree because you know, the closest people to me, you know, I was rough on because I'd be angry.
Well,
and I wouldn't know
whatever
why.
it takes, though.
Yeah,
Whatever it
exactly,
takes to get on the
exactly.
other side of it.
My daughter and my best friend Linda have been my rock, and my partners Janice and
Mm-hmm.
Alan and Tim. But Tim was going through quite
Right.
serious illness himself. So,
Right.
It's part of life, man.
It's life.
Just life.
Yeah. Well, I have one more video to share that I love this video so much. I am very grateful to you to let me put it up.
Oh,
This is from the last show that we did, Dolores' evening. And you're so incredibly awesome. I just want to share you with the people. So here we go.
Thanks, Clifford.
I like to do a little thing called collaborations. Now, this could be an odd one, but it works for me. I like to imagine different musicians in different times in history. What if they sat down to dinner and did something together? So with that said, I'd like to introduce two of my favorite composers, Johann Sebastian Bach and Cole Porter. Dave? You'd be so nice to come home to. You'd be so nice by the fire while the breeze on high sang a lullaby. You'd be more than I could desire. Under stars chilled by the winter, under an August moon burning above. You'd be oh so nice. Paradise to come home to and love, 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 love. James. Dave Tall. You'd be so nice to come home to. You'd be more so nice by the fire while the breeze on high sang a lullaby. You'd be more than I could desire. Under stars chilled by the winter, under an August moon burning above. You'd be oh so nice. Paradise to come home to.
Wow. Now
That was
that
fun.
was a song.
Dave Tull.
Dave Tull, the
Magnificent
great
Dave Tull.
Yeah. So thank you for letting me put that up. I'm so proud to have that on my little cabaret page.
Thank you.
So Cheryl, we've come to the end. You know, it just goes in the blink of an eye.
Doesn't
me.
it, though?
It does. But I so appreciate having you here.
I'm thrilled to be a part of
Really
this.
a great honor to have you. I'm an enormous fan.
Oh, I'm an enormous fan.
Well, I'm an enormous more fan. But you know, I wanted to give a quick shout out because I know you just produced an album of a kid that I became aware of because of our Jazz Corazon event that we did tributing Myrna Daniels, the wonderful woman who does the LA jazz scene. She said, well, we asked her, who do you want to get? You know, knowing we could ask pretty much anybody.
Right.
And she said, there's this 18-year-old kid who's phenomenal. He's the voice of the future. And
Thank
it turns
you,
out that you're producing an album with him.
Ira
it's
Hill.
a young man,
Ira
Hill.
Hill. Don't forget that name.
Fantastic kid, 18 years old, sings like silk, and
He's got an old soul.
Yeah.
He really does. And beautiful pitch, beautiful technique, totally relaxed. Great time. He does all his charts.
Right.
He writes all the arrangements. He came to a workshop of mine, and when he opened his mouth, I went.
Yeah, he's really talented.
So we got together. I had a couple of months free, and we were going to just do a couple cuts.
Yeah.
Then his dad said, "Why don't you do a whole record?" And I went,
Yeah.
"Okay." So we did.
And this is the first time you've actually produced a whole album by
Yes.
yourself, right?
Yes, yes.
Did you like the
I
experience?
loved it.
Yeah,
What
I
I
bet you'd
love
be great at
is
that.
I realize I really have ears and I really have opinions and I really
Yeah.
have a point of view. And I helped him a lot. He did a lot of fast vocalese stuff. And I said, you got to remember what John Hendricks said. You just got to get through the phrase. Don't worry about every word because that won't swing. Become the instrument. So it was great. It was a great learning experience for me and definitely for him
Wow.
too. It's going to be fantastic. He is the future. I was inspired. I don't know if I want to be a producer down the road, but I
it's
sure
nice.
loved doing that.
I'm sure you're great at it. And so you have Transfer is talking about a new album?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We're regrouping. We have Trist, on board, and we're going to start working on ideas. We have some pretty amazing concepts and some collaborations that I can't talk about right now,
Right.
but it's going to be great. It's gonna
And
be great.
you got West Coast Cool out there with Mr. Winkler and
Yes.
tour dates here and there all
Tour
over the
dates
place.
here and there, and jazz is a four-letter
Jazz
word.
is a four-letter word.
It's either going to come
on
out
the
September
horizon.
or January next year. We haven't decided.
And you're working on that
release
with
date.
Jameson Trotter. We have to shout out Jameson. Such a fantastic musical
He's
director. I love him.
wonderful, talented guy.
Sweet guy and so
Yeah.
talented.
And a great singer.
A great singer.
He sings these demos for
Yeah.
us, with his charts, and it's like, what are you holding back?
Yeah,
He's great.
He's a talented guy.
He's very
and
talented.
he's like a big kid.
I know.
He's so lovable.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
really, really lovable.
So-
And will we get a new Cheryl solo album?
Yeah, I have a couple concepts I'm working on. And like I
Yeah.
said to you before, it's like, okay, how do I do them all?
Right.
I just have to start with column A and then go to column B and then column C. One is kind of a interesting Dorothy Parker improvisational
That
musical
sounds good.
show that I'm working on. And then a Sondheim project that I really,
Nice.
he's my higher power. I just
Right.
don't know what else to say about that man,
Yeah.
know. So I'm trying to find obscure songs of his, which are hard because even
Well,
the famous ones
there
are
are a
pretty
few.
abstract. So when you dig deeper, it becomes real abstract. So he's like,
Yeah.
he's the best.
Yeah, he is the best.
Yep.
And I remember I was sitting with you at somebody's show, I can't remember, and we got talking about Dusty Springfield. I was saying you should sing some Dusty Springfield.
Well,
That
I
would be
did
good.
start a project in that vein, and then I heard that Adele was going to do it.
Oh, Adele, how dare
I
you?
can't really get in her way,
How dare you.
which is a perfect
Well,
call.
life is big.
I know.
life is
I know.
big.
There's enough music for all of
There's
us.
enough out there. And then, of course, when we're done here, we have to start working on your one-woman show that will be theatrical and musical
Yes.
and a stage event.
Yes.
So we'll work on
I'm
that.
excited.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you so much
Thanks,
for being
Cliff.
here,
Thank
Cheryl.
you.
I'll see you soon.
Okay.
And thank you to my landlords here, Todd Murray and Mr. Gabe Harder. Gabe, I did not thank you last week, which I have never done before. I love Gabe. He's one of the owners here, and he also does the day-to-day management. And he also is my in-studio engineer because I can't push buttons.
I know. They confuse me too.
Thank you to my associate producer, Andrew Apple, and we'll see y'all next week.
Okay.
Bye.